Hey everybody, Evan Kirstel, going to talk about a really interesting topic that I know very little about, which is branded calling. And I have first Orion. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, Evan. How are you today?
I'm doing really well, thanks, and thanks for joining me and the audience here. Before we jump into a topic that's kind of new to me and perhaps most of us here, maybe you can introduce yourself and who is first Orion?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. So, First Orion is a company. We just celebrated our 15th year anniversary yesterday, as a matter of fact. So,
Wow.
we've been around about 15 years. The company started its legacy in really helping consumers and other businesses report bad actors. So, back in the day, just the standard robocalling and things like that
Mm,
before a lot of the legislation came into place. So, we were just a conduit to help. And then we started to develop businesses that actually got into the technology of stopping these bad actors on our networks and trying to keep them off the network. And the turned into this concept that said, hey, you know what? Not only can we stop the bad actors, report them, but what about the businesses that are trying to connect with their customers? And we
mm.
came up with a concept called branded calling, and we'll talk more about that. But that was the basis, that's the genesis of the company. And the idea that, hey, we can stop the bad actors, use technology to help us, but also connect these businesses to their customers. Because as you know, that's critical for every business to be able to make that deeper connection with their customers.
Indeed, and there's lots to unpack there, but let's watch a quick video. I think it might be quite illustrative of how branded
Great.
calling works at First Orion.
Tired of showing up on your customer's phone as an unknown call? We've got your answer with Inform branded text display from First Orion. With Inform, your customers don't see a random unknown caller, or worse, a scam warning. That can lead to wasted time and money, and a negative experience for you and your customers. Instead, they see your 32-character business name, both on the incoming call screen and in their call log. Inform now includes Paired, our cutting-edge technology that prevents bad actors from spoofing your display name. With Inform, you'll also have access to the best analytics in the industry, going beyond the answer rate to dig into customer engagement and the positive impact to your ROI. Stop showing up as an unknown number and start delivering calls made to answer. Visit firstorion.com/inform to learn more and get started.
Wow, that's fantastic. Where has this been my whole life? I've
Yes.
been dealing with this scourge of robocalls and block callers my whole adult life.
Yeah, it's one of those, I've got a 30 plus year career in technology and telecom, and it's rare that you come across a solution where when you talk to the customer, they go, well, of course I'd want that. Who wouldn't want their calls to be branded, right? So it's fun to be able to work on a solution like that. And yeah, part of this is getting the word out there, right? Some customers not only don't know they have the solution, but some aren't even aware that there's a problem with their calls.
Mm,
One of the things I like to do is when I start talking to some customers or even some of our partners, ask them, do you know how your phone calls look to your customers when you make that call? How do they show up? What does it say? And the reality is many customers, unless they're deeply into that telecom call center environment, they really haven't thought about that. And the answer is it's not good. Sometimes it's based on where that phone number was 6 months ago. Sometimes there's nothing on there. Sometimes you get tagged as being, a robocaller or something like that, or telemarketer when you may or may not be a telemarketer. And
mm.
we just believe in that transparency. Let the businesses tell the customers who they are calling and let that connection begin in earnest right from the beginning without any false pretense, without the necessary, let me tell you who I am, let me tell you why I'm calling. And it's just been a really interesting and fun ride to be able to make these connections.
Love the notion here, but how does it work? I mean, there's a lot under the hood to make it look
Sure.
so simple, right? In an enterprise or a contact center, which is a pretty complex environment. Maybe give us a snapshot of that.
Yeah, the beauty is in its simplicity. So what we do a lot of the hard work. We've got about 400 employees at First Orion, and we are based in North Little Rock, Arkansas. So out of this humble little beginning, we have this small little goal. The goal is to change the way the businesses make these phone calls and connect with their customers. So the beauty is we just work with our end users, these customers, and they give us their list of phone numbers, whether it's 5 or 50,000 or 500,000 phone numbers they may have. And you tell us, what do you want that display name to say? We then take that information. We do a lot of vetting on the back end because we have to make sure that this is all critically accurate because of privacy and compliance and all that appropriate legislation that's put in place. We make sure that the customer has the right to use the phone number, that's legitimate. We take them through all that vetting process. And then once they're vetted, we log them onto our portal. And the customer can then go in and they can manage their own campaigns if they're that sophisticated of a customer. So maybe they're saying, hey, this week I'm trying to deliver this project, and they have a project name. And they can go into our portal, create that project name, create the work, and then see all these KPIs. You heard in that little video there, we present to the customers things like answer rates, but also we work with them to do engagement rate, meaning how long did the rep talk to the customer? What happened on that call? How many times do you have to call them before you get connections? And then we work with them on their call hygiene and try to make sure that each of their phone calls is as productive as possible. So when you get into the technology, the beauty is it's simple. We do all the work for you. You give us your phone numbers and what do you want it to say, and we take care of all the rest from there.
Brilliant. And so this works across any kind of enterprise network or PPX or even phone carrier. Is that?
Yeah. So when you start to do a double click down, we should start and lay some of those ground rules. So first of all, this is only for calls that terminate on a wireless device, right? So this is only for calls, which is, more and more, this is where we all live.
Pretty much everyone.
Everyone, even I, an ex-AT&T guy, I had to get rid of my landline finally. It was a little painful, a little shock of culture, but I got rid of it finally. So it's for these devices on your wireless phone, first of all. And yes, it's for any business that makes calls from a number onto a wireless device. And,
brilliant.
And by the way, we were just, if you look at our website, we haven't done our press releases yet, but we're now able to do that on all three of the major wireless carriers. That's a little bit new for us at First Orion. So it's a fun day as well. It's been a fun period to start ticking these major milestones off. So now we're able to brand on all three of the major wireless carriers.
Wow, that is no small feat. And so you talk about campaigns. So this isn't just with branded calling a one and done. They can change the name or logo or reason for calling or what kind of information can they present?
Yeah. So for example, let's say you're a national retailer and you're doing a lot of deliveries. Majority of the time, the more specific you are and your ability to tell the customer why you're calling is best. So if you're ABC retailer home delivery, and I know that I'm expecting a delivery in the next day or so, and I see that phone light up, boy, that's a pretty good connection, right? I mean, it literally happened to me. I've been building a home. I just finished about 4 months ago. I've been working for First Drive for a year, and I get that phone call, and I'm in a meeting, and I see a number. I have no idea what it is. I let it go, and then about an hour later, I go, oh, I betcha. And then I check my voicemail, and sure enough, it was the delivery guys. Hey, we're here. We're waiting. And then I missed it, and it took 2 weeks to get that delivery truck back. So, yeah, this is an opportunity for any kind of customer to brand themselves. And we talk about campaigns. We talk about the largest of customers, and they can monitor, all their different call centers maybe and see how call center A is performing versus call center B. Make sure they can get their highest level of performance. But also, we've created a self-serve portal that we're just in beta on right now for the small or even micro businesses, Evan. So, imagine the ability for a landscape company to be able to tell you that, hey, the person's here. The plumber to tell you that the person's 5 minutes away. Can you? And majority of those folks are calling from their wireless phone, right? And boy, they're not branded, right? And sometimes it's a name on there that was their mother-in-law's whose plan they're on, right? So not very professional either. So these are all things that we're trying to knock down one by one. We started with contact centers, obviously. Then we're moving to enterprises that do a lot of calling, and now we've moved into that SMB mid-market. Where calling is not the main business function, but it's something I need as a tool. And we're working with those types of businesses now to explain that, hey, you potentially do have a problem. Do you know how you show up? There is a solution. It's called branded calling. And now we're moving our way, and we believe there's a great opportunity in the future for these SMB or micro businesses as well.
Yeah, count me one of those. I got to check it out personally.
You're happy to help you out.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be fun. And what in terms of industries where you're getting traction, You mentioned a couple, but really every industry, I can imagine healthcare seems like a big one where, you miss that call from your pharmacy or your doctor. That can be quite annoying.
Exactly. And yeah, and so financial services, healthcare, banking, imagine if a credit card issuer with a phone number, there's just says 800 something something, and you're not sure exactly what that means. But if it says, hey, it's, I'm just making this up, Citibank fraud. Okay,
Right.
I know what that means. I probably do want to take that call.
Hmm.
So it verticals are, you hate to say this, but we're pretty attractive to most verticals. I think once you dive into the verticals, we have different types of use cases, obviously, and there may be those mission critical calls where you really have to get to the customer. It's, I hate to say be dramatic, but sometimes it is life and death, right? Sometimes it is about getting that connection to your doctor. Sometimes it's important, right? I want to get that package, that delivery. There's a fraud call. Or sometimes it's what we call form to call. You started something online, your application for something or researching something. You didn't get time to finish. You got distracted. And then that company may call you if they have the right and privilege to do that based on, all the Q&A you did with them. And they'll call you. And then if you know it's them, you'll decide, right? Yes, I do want to talk to that company, or I don't, right? It's an easy decision. And when you do decide to engage, the reps love it, Evan, because now all of a sudden, if you're a rep and you've been making these calls, and the first is, who are you? Why are you calling me? And
Right.
I did telemarketing in college for a few months. It's hard. But if the customer's like, okay, I know who this is, let me see exactly what this is about. It's a much different phone call. So contact centers tell us they love this product because it's an efficiency tool for sure, but it also helps the reps get through their day in a little bit easier manner.
Very nice. And you have to be compliant with all kinds of FCC requirements on
Oh
robocalls. So
yeah,
that must be a
TCPA.
lot of work as well.
It's work, but it's necessary, right?
Yeah.
You want this to be transparent. You want this to be above board. You want this to be accretive to everyone's desires to be following proper legislation. So yeah, there's a lot of work that has to go on behind the scenes for vetting and making sure right of use and all those things I mentioned before, and TCPA compliance, et cetera. But we got a lot of smart folks here at First Orion. Well over half of those 400 are literal folks writing code and data science and analytics.
Wow.
We have a lot of people that are also involved in legislation, make sure we understand what's going on, and helping our customers navigate that as well. Because some of them, again, when you start getting into that mid-market or where calling is not their business, it can be challenging to navigate those waters. So we pride ourselves in being able to help those customers as well.
Well, let's hope we can start answering our phones again. I certainly don't answer mine
Yeah,
at the
look,
moment.
I start everyone like, raise your hand, how many people answer the phone when you don't know the number, right? And nobody does it anymore. So it's a lot of fun. It's a tool that I think at some point you're going to be a business, you're going to have to do it. And what I think is great is the phone call now is actually relevant again, right? A phone call, nobody talked on the phone. And why it's relevant is because, look, if we get an email, we check it periodically. You get a text, you're pretty likely to look at it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending what you're doing. But if you get a phone call, I've never not looked at the phone. When the phone rings, I always look at it and then I make my decision. So it's still a wonderful tool for businesses. And if it's a name that I say, oh, I recognize that who that is, or I do want to talk to them, it makes a great connection.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, let's talk the economics of this without getting into actual dollars and cents. I mean, how do you show an enterprise or a contact center ROI or justify the investment? Is that tricky at all?
It's not.
Okay.
I don't want to sound like we're bragging here, but that's pretty straightforward. We're able to work with companies. They'll give us their phone numbers, and we can show them the control group and then the test group, and then show them the differences and what happens. And what we find is even sometimes when customers don't answer the phone, it acts as a branding tool, as a reminder. So if you were doing something online, again, maybe you're filling out an application and you stopped and oh yeah, that company called me. I didn't have time in the moment, but that triggered you and you go back. So we're even able to watch and help companies, when the data is shareable, to see, hey, this is a tool that even works when the phone call is not connected because it was a memory jogger. But our basic process is we go in and, we call it a soak. We soak the numbers. We watch what's happening with the customer's permission. They give us all that. And then we start branding some calls and we see the difference. It's pretty straightforward. And in some cases, answer rate is not the thing that we're going for. Sometimes answer rates even decline. Because if you're trying to sell me something, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. If I'm not in the market for that product or service, let's save both of us the time and energy, right? I won't pick up the phone. Your rep doesn't have to take their time and we move on. But that engagement rate that we're measuring and the final conclusion conversion rates, not for every case, of course, but generally we see significant improvements in those cases because there is that pre-wiring that occurs. There's a pre-selection and a deselection tool that the customers, runs through in their mind, says, yep, I'm in the moment. I can take the call, or no, I can't. And it's okay. So the ROI is something that we're able to measure based upon the ability to do that kind of pre-soak for the customer.
Fantastic. Well, I think even Apple has recognized that phone calls are still important. In iOS 17. They have that live voicemail transcription feature and listen in. So it's like us old guys in the old days, we'd have the voice machine at home and you'd listen to the message and pick it up.
I might have been the product manager for answer machines at the old AT&T back in the day, Evan. So I may know what you're talking about there with micro cassettes even. So
the little micro cassettes, you'd have to change them. Yeah, what a nightmare. But this is spectacular. And tell me, you worked for big companies as a senior executive, AT&T. I see most recently Samsung. That's quite a change to get into this space, a smaller company, fast moving space. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I was attracted to the ability to change the way businesses connect with customers, right? And bring that transparency and security to the phone call again. It's, when you get telecom in your blood, it's hard to get it out. And Samsung was an incredible opportunity for me, a great learning experience, but it's a massive company, right? And the impact that any one person can have is always going to be limited. And I was excited about the opportunity to bring something to market that was meaningful, that you could stand behind, that's easy to explain and understand, where we had some secret sauce in how we work with the customers. And then also, have an ability to change a marketplace. So have the impact on the company and the ability to change a market and do something that was really worthwhile. Evan, we've got a customer that is kind of frankly falling in love with this service. They're one of our partners, and it's a company called 448 Connect, and they actually work with blood donor networks and blood donor companies.
Wow.
And they found they had a terrible accident in a particular geography, and they had an urgent need for a certain type of blood, which was hard to find. And they branded their calls as such, and they said urgent need for, I think it was O positive. I may have that wrong. And then within an hour, they had 20, 30 people knocking at their door, literally physically, to make that donation.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's amazing, right? And not everything is that dramatic, as I said, but it was just it was very telling to us that the power of that call was still there, right? People looked at that and said, "Oh, I want to take action based on that phone call." The majority of our calls are not that serious or dramatic, but the result is essentially the same. People see something going on in a place where they're ready to interact, they're ready to take action, and they find value in it, and they're ready to connect with those businesses.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were working like with a CPaaS kind of company doing outbound or mass calling, and you can integrate with that.
100%. The technical, we're a very open company. We've got our portal, which has open APIs, right? So we like working with all of the major networks that are out there and all the telephone integrations and the dialers and all the CCaaS and CPaaS companies. I'm actually, I'm in Boston to work with Intelisys at one of their events this week, where they have a lot of partners coming in. So I'll be telling the first Orion story there this week. So we believe we have to get the word out, Evan, right? And I appreciate you helping us do that, because this is a problem in the most marketplaces where you don't know who's calling, you don't know why who's calling, and we have a nice solution for it. So we're excited to be able to tell that story.
And coming next, a country near you, or obviously you have your hands full with the U.S., but Canada, every country I think has this challenge.
We have an international presence. I would say we're doing that to make sure we understand where each country is, right? In the U.S., there's certain legislations that drive certain behaviors. Not every country is similar to that, but we do have a presence in Dubai, a presence in London. We are working with companies, but I'd say next for us is expanding on this calling platform. So imagine, you're a bank and you say, okay, it's really important that my fraud calls go through. But by the way, some people, there's this thing called spoofing, right? And you can unfortunately, with the proper software and the illicit ideas, you can spoof a number and say this is who you are. So some financial services companies are working with us on a new product we have called Sentry, which will actually block the phone call from ever going to that handset if the A number, which is the number you're dialing from, and the 2 number and the window of time don't all 3 match up. So you can imagine someone at a call center, they get a fraud issue. When they hit enter on their keyboard to make that outbound call, we have a pre-call API that works with that technical platform. It does all this checking and triangulation. If it's fine, it goes through to the customer, and we can brand it or not brand it. That's up to them. But if it is not that A number or that B number, that time to live, that call gets blocked. So we're actually trying to help these financial services companies and healthcare companies ensure that these numbers and brands don't get out there without their knowledge, and it's to make sure it's not a legitimate call.
Brilliant. Well, so many opportunities, and this goes far beyond, I think, us telecom geeks into the wider business and enterprise space. So congratulations. Yeah, thanks for spending time sharing your vision, and thanks everyone for watching. Feel free to reach out on Twitter and LinkedIn with any comments, questions, feedback. Take care, Joe. Thanks for doing what you do.
Appreciate it, Evan. Thank you. Have a great day.